Alright, so this is probably gonna be the last video that I upload today. So you see the title of the video is who had the better peak, LeBron or Jordan? Now, I want to throw out some definitions or have Google throw out some definitions. What is a player's peak? Peak refers to the short period of time when an athlete reaches their absolute highest level of performance, typically occurring in their mid 20s, while longevity refers to the ability of an athlete to maintain a high level of performance over a long period of their career, often by managing training and preventing injuries to extend their competitive lifespan. Essentially, peak is about achieving the highest performance at a single point, while longevity is about maintaining a consistent high level for a long duration. Now, let's look up what is peak in athletic terms. Okay. In athletic terms, peak refers to the point in time when the athlete is performing at their absolute best, reaching their highest level of physical ability and performance in their chosen sport. So let's look, is peak the same as prime? In athletic terms? Hold on. Well, let's just look it up real quick. While peak and prime are often used interchangeably, peak specifically refers to the absolute highest point or best moment, right? So when guys say, because you're going to see it in a minute, Jordan had the best peak. Peak is referring to a moment. Peak is referring to when you were at your best during your best years. So what year? You know, if you refer to anything else outside of that, you're talking about the athlete's prime. Peak is when you were at your absolute best during your best. Okay, peak specifically refers to the absolute highest point or best moment, while prime can encompass a period of sustained high performance, such that peak is a more precise term for single maximum point within a prime period. Represent a peak represents the very top, the absolute best point in time. Prime indicates a sustained period of high quality of performance, often considered the best phrase something. Now, the point I'm getting at is okay, according to Google, the peak is, at your absolute best. But it's a single point at your absolute best. That's what a peak is. Your prime is, you know, years while you are at your best, where you're performing at your best. But the peak is the best year or maybe a year or two of your prime. When you're in your prime, but you're at your absolute best in your prime. So, like, for instance, 2018 LeBron, you know? But, okay, whether you want to say peak or prime, who had the better prime between LeBron and Jordan? Okay, let's look at something that Chris Broussard and Nick Wright went through a little bit. They went over this. So I'm gonna let them speak a little bit and then I'm gonna chime in with my stuff. 1 second. Okay.
The GOAT. I mean, he was by far the highest scorer, until LeBron broke his record. And Nick, in sports, we tend to take peak over longevity. As long as your peak was in a substantial.
But I'm gonna stop it right there because the reason why now they have separated peak and prime is simple. LeBron's had the longest, or not peak and prime, but they separated peak and longevity. They stopped using the word prime, right? They've stopped using the word prime because LeBron has had the longest prime in NBA history. I don't know where, peak. people didn't start using this word until LeBron started shattering records and doing all the different things he's been doing. Now, they've separated prime or peak and longevity because LeBron's been doing it longer than anyone else at a high level. So by definition, he's already had the longest peak and the longest prime ever. By definition, he's already done that. But they argue Jordan's was better. This is why they changed the word from prime to be this. Guess what I'm saying? Peak refers to a single moment, maybe maybe a year or two out of in your prime where you were performing at your absolute best. Prime is a period of time. They no longer say prime. They've turned it into peak, and then have turned prime into longevity because LeBron's been too good for too long. Catch what I'm saying? So he's had the longest peak, the longest prime, the longest peak, whatever you want to call it. And since nobody else can compare, they just say that's longevity. And then when they were at their best, Jordan was just better with, okay, but that's a matter of opinion. But LeBron was at his best for far longer than Jordan. That's not a matter of opinion.
Career. You can't have a great peak for 4 years and, he's the GOAT. No. Yeah. As long as you had a legitimately lengthy career, we've always tended to say peak over longevity. In football, Emmitt Smith, the leading rusher, very few people think he's the best ever. Some will say he's the best running back, but most will take a Barry Sanders, a Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, or somebody else because their peaks were higher.
Yeah.
In baseball, Hank Aaron obviously was the home run leader until Barry Bonds, but Hank Aaron never hit 50 home runs in a year. So he was called the home run king because of the longevity, but a Babe Ruth,
he wasn't called
Barry
the best
Bonds,
baseball player.
Right. He
Mays
was never viewed as the GOAT.
I agree with
Right. So I think in that regard, even the NBA, Magic Johnson, who I think is by far the greatest passer ever, is 7th in assists. Now we get his career was cut short, but still I think these are examples of how we view peak over longevity.
I agree with you on that. Where I will push back and where I don't even think I'm pushing back against you. Yeah. Here is, I think, the simplest way to put it. There is an argument to be made that LeBron's peak was higher than Jordan's. There is an argument to be made that Jordan's peak was higher. Mm-hmm. But I will put the 27-game winning streak year, the year he was Finals MVP, League MVP, second place Defensive Player of the Year, and talking about the Heat in 2013, or 2014, up against anything Jordan ever did. I will. And so at least can we agree that there is an argument?
By the way, that year he was robbed of Defensive Player of the Year. I got a video on that. But deeper than that, I think he shot 56% from the field and 40% from three. So if he did win Defensive Player of the Year, he would have been Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, MVP. He would have took his team on a 27-game win streak. He was shooting 50% from the field, and I think 70-something% at the rim, and then 40% from three. Jordan, man, come on. Let's keep going.
Argument that LeBron at his peak is as good as Jordan at his peak.
I think you don't think there's an argument? I think Jordan's peak was better.
Okay.
Now close.
Okay.
But he was Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
I understand. And LeBron was 3 votes shy of Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. That's fine. But that's the
just 1 year, or is it? I'm gonna just let him get to it.
And 6 championships in 8 years.
So now you're talking about like extended peak. Not singular peak. So like you're calling peak the exact amount of time that Jordan won championships.
No.
You said 6 and 8 years, but that's
that's part of it. But the years before he won the championship, his peak was high too. So now LeBron, we're talking about. If you're going to talk about the years before LeBron won championships,
because the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year was what year? The
80.
You're right. He did not. Right. So
sure.
not
he didn't
Jordan's
win a championship
peak.
That
there, it's weird. So I don't know. We're kind of confusing it. That's fine. I think the peaks are similar. The longevity's not. So the longevity is not a close call. LeBron is unquestionably
88 was the year. 88,
right.
yeah.
So was that his peak or not?
It was during his peak.
Okay, so Jordan's peak was when?
But Nick, see,
Hold
this,
on. No,
the
I'm just
longevity,
asking.
but the longevity argument can work against LeBron too.
How?
Because the longer you play and less you win championships.
Okay.
Hold on, let me state it. Jordan won 6 championships in 15 years. And that's in counting 2 when he played like 17 and 18 games. Okay. But 15 years, that's a championship every 2.5 years. LeBron has won 4 in 20 years.
And by this logic, I guess Bill Russell should be the GOAT because he won 11 and 13 and 8 straight. But I mean, okay.
Won every 5 years. Jordan won it twice the rate. And if LeBron keeps playing and doesn't win, it's going to be like the number. It's like a Wilt Chamberlain. Like the numbers are outstanding. He's rewriting the individual record book. But when you talk about the winning, he didn't win close to as much as Jordan.
So when you say
But
6,
he actually won more than Jordan. This is the thing. He spent more time in playoff relevancy than Jordan. Though he might not have won more championships or more finals, but there's a few things to say about that, like losing his 2 best teammates in 2015. Jordan never had to deal with that. And I'm sure there's nobody that would say if he did lose Pippen and Grant or Pippen and Rodman, he'd be 6-0 still. Or when LeBron was 22 years old, Jordan wasn't in the finals at 22. How about facing the KD Warriors and the Spurs? Jordan never faced teams like that. Look, we already know all that. Okay. So there's context to all of it is the point. And, just saying he won this many championships in this many years and LeBron didn't, or he played longer and he should, is dismissing competition. It's dismissing context. And the main thing is, when I say LeBron did win more than Jordan, this is what I mean. He has more playoff wins and more playoff series won than Jordan. He was spent more time relevancy in the playoffs versus harder competition. That counts for something, but I'm going to keep going.
15 years. We're not counting the years Jordan. Like it's not 15.
I'm counting championships. I'm not counting appearances in the finals.
No.
Okay, then count Bill Russell's 11 championships.
I'm talking about 15. I'm the 15 years that you're counting is not 15 consecutive
No, it's
years.
the 15 years, 15 seasons he played basketball.
Right, but that's
Why
not
would I
15
count
years in a row.
The years he was
this is
president
just
of the Wizards?
because he
That should
stopped
count
playing and
that.
then went back to basketball and stopped playing and went back to basketball. So I'm just asking, in your opinion, if LeBron James had retired from 17 to 19, and then also, by the way, retired right after his one championship with the Lakers, he would have a better GOAT case.
It'd be sick though.
Because then he had 4 in 16 years.
That is totally not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they both
That
played a
is pretty
certain
much the same thing that he's saying, but he's just been disingenuous about it.
amount of seasons.
No, I get it.
All right,
but
I'm not counting retirement.
No, I understand.
Because I could sit here and say Jordan would have won 8 had he not retired. I'm not going to say that.
That's not what I'm trying to. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what you said at the end there is somehow that if LeBron keeps playing at this level longer,
if he has
and
4
doesn't
championships in 23 seasons,
right? So if he
how you going to compare that to Michael Jordan?
So
winning
this
six?
is
How are you going to compare 6 and 15 years to 11 and 13? This is what I'm saying by Jordan fan logic. The amount of championships you won and the amount of years you played has never been a thing until LeBron's played so good for so long that they have to find some way to diminish it.
And you're
15.
not a count the rings guy, but everything you've said here has been the ring.
No, because it's dominance.
So
it's dominance.
everything
Like
you've
right
said
now,
here-
LeBron is playing great. Is he playing close to what he did when he was at
No,
his
of
peak?
course not.
Why?
And
How do we know that? Because the numbers are the same.
because we can watch him play.
Or we can look
see.
at the wins and losses too.
Sure, yeah, that's
what we can do.
absolutely. And you're
Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
He is right now at 39 years old. He is not nearly as good as young LeBron, but he's way better than 39-year-old Jordan. by any metric.
Well,
By
that's what I'll
any-
give you.
like-
The longevity argument is for LeBron.
But you say
The peak argument to me, it's not an argument.
You just
It's
throw
Jordan.
longevity out there, and I think it is too dismissive of the fact that we would, if we sat down here and said, hey, who was better at 18? Who was better at 19? Who was better at 20? Who was better at 21? Who was better at 22?
Kareem.
I
I mean, if you want to just say
I'm
that.
so glad you said that.
We're
I'm
talking
so
about
glad you said
NBA GOAT,
The-
Nick. We're not talking about
no.
high school. We're not talking
No.
about college. Kareem and Jordan were in college
I got it.
at 18 and
Okay,
19.
so if they were in college and LeBron was in the NBA, the better NBA player at 18 was LeBron. And the better.
I mean,
Okay, so then
come
Jordan's
on. I mean,
rookie-
you
all right,
get
that's fine.
nonsensical.
That's fine. No, we're not. Jordan's rookie year at 22. He's in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Agreed. And LeBron's in the finals. Who was better at 22?
At 22, I don't know.
You don't know. See,
Because
this is,
LeBron had 4 years with the Cavs.
Okay.
Now that was a great run. But to say Jordan was awesome as a rookie.
right. So you think it's a debate about if Michael Jordan and his 35 win Bulls team was better than that he was better at 22.
Individual? Who was the better individual
than LeBron
player?
the year they went to the
LeBron
finals.
had a better team.
Look, really? I'm not even sure about that being the case. But LeBron,
They beat the championship.
in the 48 special year, you think there's a chance that rookie Michael Jordan was better? Really?
I would likely give it to LeBron.
Okay. So the point that I was trying to make is, and we know that at 36, 37, 38, 39, it's LeBron.
Jordan
know
wasn't
that.
even playing at 36.
Which is why we know it was LeBron. If the
That's
guy,
fine. We're not talking about who was better at this age. We're talking about who was better during their NBA career. And Michael Jordan locked down the entire NBA.
Yep, this disingenuous argument. Hold on, let me press it.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
no one
always
else.
say that. But
It's
just
true.
not true.
Really? Those 7 years he played.
The 7 years.
No, hold on. LeBron didn't lock down the Eastern Conference his whole career. He locked it down for a 8-year stretch. That's how he locked down the East when he went to the finals 8 straight years. Jordan locked the entire league down for 6 straight years that he played, or 6 of 7. We'll give you that.
Well, you're not giving me anything. That's just the facts.
That's the fact.
Okay,
so would you rather have somebody who dominated his conference but got to the other conference and got beat, or somebody who put the whole league on?
But I'm really.
Would you rather face the Utah Jazz, the Supersonics, the Trailblazers, the Suns, the Lakers, who weren't even the Showtime Lakers anymore, or would you rather face the Spurs and Warriors? I think anyone would say I would rather face the teams that Jordan faced than to face the dynasties that LeBron faced. So the lockdown the league argument is a disingenuous argument because it doesn't take into account circumstances, teams, teammates, and competition. Like I said, Jordan wasn't in the finals at 22, right? He wasn't in the finals at 22. He never lost his 2 best teammates. He never played a team like the Spurs or Warriors. Okay. LeBron played them 7 out of 10 times. 5 of his 6 losses come versus them. This is why I say the really only real argument you can make is 2011, but people know that that's not enough. So they had the 6 losses and he didn't lock down the league. Jordan did, but Jordan didn't play a team with 2 MVPs in a prime, 4 All-Stars, and a Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't play a 73-win team that added the 2nd best player in the world. And they already had the 3rd best player in the world and the only unanimous MVP in NBA history. He didn't play a team like that. He didn't play a Spurs dynasty team with 4 Hall of Famers, and they still hold 5 NBA playoff records to this day. He didn't play a team like that. He didn't play, and I showed in some of my earlier videos that the Spurs and Warriors have the highest win percentage out of every NBA team in NBA history. Those 2 teams. And they didn't just get that from playing LeBron. That's something that we also got to take into account. They got that from playoff success in multiple years in their conferences. So it's just disingenuous lockdown the league. But let's keep going.
Really glad you put it in those terms because you are correct. For 6 of 8 seasons, Michael Jordan won the championship, which is locked down the league. LeBron, on the other hand,
6 of 7 seasons that he played.
Okay. But there were 8 NBA seasons. Michael Jordan opted not to
Didn't play
participate
one.
in one of them.
So he's
That's
going to get
fine.
punished for that?
I'm just saying.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. You're punishing him because he retired.
I'm just saying what the calendar was. And then LeBron James, for 4 of, I got to do it in my head real quick, 4 of 9 seasons locked down the league, right? Yeah. It would be from
That's
12
not
to
locking
20.
down. 4 and 9 isn't locking down.
And then on the
locking
front,
down is like a stretch
on the front and the
where
back
you're
end
getting
of
there
that,
every year.
Right, but he
He got to the finals every year, but he didn't lock down the league. He locked down the East.
Right. And if we are going to
but
do
he
this,
also played better teams, way better teams. And like I said, lost his 2 best teammates. Okay. We're just going to pretend that doesn't matter, though.
thing where you're right, he's not going to get to 6 most likely, where it is simply that one guy got to 6 and the other guy won 6 and the other guy didn't, then none of this will matter. Then none of it will matter. And I know that's where you're at, Wild.
None of what will matter.
Then if LeBron gets to 50,000 points, it won't matter.
Nick, right? you think I don't think the peaks. LeBron, I think, is the second greatest player ever. So of course, it's relatively close.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone can say at their peak who was better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
At their peak, what would be their peak? LeBron had the longest prime, the longest peak, whatever the case you want to call it. He had the longest stretch. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it was better just because it was longer, but you got to compare a certain amount of time in a fair way to Jordan, and then that means you have to downplay the other years that LeBron was still in his peak or his prime. So it's not a conversation that you really want to have.
And say LeBron. I think it's clearly Jordan, and I think longevity is clearly LeBron. So which do you take? Would you rather longevity or would you rather peak?
The point I was trying to make, Brew, is if Michael Jordan, and I don't agree with you on the peak thing, but let me just give it to you. If Michael Jordan's peak is a 100 out of 100 rating, and LeBron's peak as the second best player ever, call it a 97 out of 100 rating. Longevity, LeBron is by definition 100 out of 100, and Jordan was about an 80. Jordan had a lot of guys play a lot more.
More like 60, but
longevity is still not.
So you're saying you're almost saying it doesn't matter at all, because one gap is this close, and some people would say it's flipped the other way, and the other gap is this big and getting wider and wider.
But
I get it.
Look, it's what LeBron. I don't want to take away from what LeBron's doing because the longevity is incredible. But if you're not they're the 10th seed right now in the West. I mean, Michael Jordan.
What
were they?
At 39 years old as the Wizards?
Seed.
I'm curious.
Yeah, they were the 9th or 10th seed in that year.
Yeah. Okay.
So had they had to play it, maybe they would have been in the playoffs too.
Okay.
So
Live from New York, it's a show that.
Just wanted to show that real quick. Now, we went over the definition of peak and all this stuff. So they always thrown in the words longevity and, pretty much trying to diminish what LeBron's done, right? So, I just want to go through a few things. Now, hold on. Let me see. Now, you see graphs like these. Hold on. Pretty disingenuous. Now, what this would show is that PER, win shares per 48, offensive box plus minus, defensive box plus minus, value over replacement. LeBron only has true shooting. Now, this is from a Jimmy High Roller who says, Jordan's the GOAT when they were at their best. Does analytics favor Jordan, which they actually didn't. But I'm going to explain. So first of all, value over replacement favors LeBron. Value over replacement per game doesn't exist. So that would put value over replacement in LeBron's corner. But I'm going to break all that down. Now, you see offensive box plus minus, defensive box plus minus. Okay, we're going to take care of that too. Okay, blah, blah, blah. No. Box plus minus was changed on February 25th, 2020. Okay. Now, if you look here, this was the old box plus minus. LeBron James at number 1. Now, all of a sudden, it changes, and Michael Jordan is all of a sudden number 2. And all of a sudden, LeBron is number 2, and Jordan is all of a sudden number 1. The formula, now they say, hold on, they say it was changed because of Russell Westbrook in 2016 and 17, and it broke the season, broke the stat, but it was changed in 2020. 3 years later, when LeBron was number 1 and all this stuff. 3 years later, when LeBron was about to get his 4th chip too. So they changed the formula, all of a sudden made Jordan number 1. So the analytics didn't favor Jordan. They was just changed to favor Jordan. Okay. Because LeBron was number 1 in box plus minus. Oh, and don't forget, it's the old one was 9.1, the new one was 9.2, and it suddenly it was just 0.1 above. Think about that. Same thing here. LeBron James was 7.2, his changed to 7.1, and it pushed him down in offensive box plus minus. He was the leader in that. Okay? What a coincidence. Jordan just so happens to join these stats when they change the formula. Okay. And he also gets a top 10 single season defensive player, defensive box plus minus. Okay. Now, James was number 1. LeBron was number 1. And by or replacement. And box plus minus is an average, not cumulative stat, right? His box plus minus was 9.1. And this was in 2020 when he was still number 1 in box plus minus. So it was favoring LeBron, right? Jordan's box plus minus is weighed down by his geriatric years in Washington, meaning the more you play, the more your box plus minus will go down. So at this point, LeBron was in year 17, still playing it like he was in his prime, still the best in the world, and his box plus minus was still number 1 over Jordan's. And he was in year 17 with no breaks. Okay. This is before they changed the stat too. Now, this is Basketball Reference. Win shares per 48. The all-time leader in win shares per 48 is Michael Jordan, was falls in line with the prevailing wisdom on Jordan's GOAT status. And you're not going to tell me that Basketball Reference ain't biased, but we could keep going. Now, this was after they changed the formula and after LeBron won his 4th Finals MVP, measuring their peaks. PER, Jordan's number 1. Jokic is now, but Jordan was number 1. Box plus minus. Jordan was, LeBron was number 1 until they changed the formula. So let's point something off. So this is at their peak in their best 10 seasons. And their top 10 playoff runs of all time. Statistically, LeBron and Jordan are the only 2 players on there since the merger. LeBron tops the list, each have 5, right? And again, this is before they changed the formula, so who knows what that would look like. Now, when they talk about longevity, okay. This is where they always throw around longevity. Well, okay, LeBron passed Jordan in regular season rebounds and assists, playoff rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, playing less years. Now, he passed him in assists in year 11 in the regular season, passed him in rebounds in year 10, regular season, and Jordan played 15 seasons, so that's less year. He had, at the end of year 15, he only had 5 less blocks than Jordan. So you do with that information what you will. He passed Jordan his 12th playoff run with 389, and Jordan had 13 playoff runs. He passed Jordan his 10th playoff run in assists. Okay. He passed Jordan in playoff rebounds his 8th playoff run. So He passed them in 6 of 10 categories, playing less years. So how is it longevity? Okay. He passed Jordan in regular season points on 1,240 less shots a game and 118 less shots in the playoffs. So playing less years, less time can't be defined as as longevity. Now, they always say win shares is a cumulative stat, right? He only passed them in win shares because he played longer. Well, he passed Jordan in win shares in his 15th year in the NBA. Jordan played 15 years. So, what? Okay, that's obviously wrong. How about value over replacement? He passed Jordan in year 13 for value over replacement. Year 13, year 15. Okay. So this is just showing simple stuff, okay? They're always talking about longevity. Who was better at their peaks, right? If I could find this thing. Yeah, I'm about to just show who's better because okay. So I just want to go through who is better at their best. Okay, let's look at it. I mean, if this thing, oh my God, bro, not this again. All right, maybe it'll pop up. Okay. And single season box plus minus. This was, in 09. He set the record for the most consecutive playoff games, scoring 25 points in a single playoff run. He's the only player that scored 25 points every game of a playoff run since the merger in a minimum of 2 playoff series. He had the highest PER for a single playoff run. I think Jokic might have broke that record, but for now, we just say he owns that. Or you know what? No, because I'm not about to be like Jordan fans. We're gonna look up to see who got that for a playoff run, single season playoff run. Hakeem actually owns the record, but he played 1 series. So LeBron played, got to the conference finals and lost, I think. Yeah. He played 3 series. So technically, I'm going to say Hakeem got it, but he really played more series. So I'm going to say LeBron. Okay. Highest PER for a single season, highest box plus minus for a single season. If that still stands, let's check. Well, it did stand until Nikola Jokic broke that. So he's second all time in that, but at the time he was first. Win shares per 48, I don't know. Maybe Jokic owns that offensive box plus minus. Maybe Jokic owns that. Not really sure, but he was just, point is he was breaking records, setting records and breaking records. 09, okay. I already did over those. Let's look at something else. Because it's always longevity, right? All right. So when you look at this, they say, oh, well, he broke that because of longevity. Well, I mean, this was his 15th year in the NBA. I don't know which year in the playoffs it was. It might have been his 13th year in the playoffs. I'm not really sure, but it was something along those lines. They say Jordan had a better peak. Hold on, man. How do you prove that LeBron had a better peak? Okay. If you look at this, okay, LeBron has the highest game score in NBA Finals history in Game 6. So when you say peak, are we talking about a single performance, a single year where you were the best, or like what is it? Because if it's a single game, moment, or year, it's like, LeBron clearly owns that, and I can definitely prove that in 1 second. I could definitely prove that. But let's go down. Highest game scored in NBA Finals history. He's got 4 of the top 10, actually. So them the best games that's ever been played in Finals history. You could say them as moments. Now, this is what I really want to get to. At Jordan's peak, whenever he was at his best, he was never capable of doing something like this. Leading both teams and all players and everything in an NBA playoff series. That is a fact. Now, you can try to come up with every reason why, or, what are the reasons why. But the fact of the matter is, at his best, he could never replicate that. That's the truth. So what are we saying when we're talking about peak? Like, what is the criteria? How long are we talking? Which years are we talking about? 1 year, or are we talking about more than 1 year? And if LeBron had the longest prime, then whatever. That's why I said they use the word peak, because peak is singular moment, probably in your prime where you were the best in that moment. Prime is an extended period of time, like years, but they've changed it from prime to peak because peak, they know peak is singular, right? Like 1 moment in your prime, or 1 year in your prime, or something like that. Because what I'm saying is, if you compare LeBron and Jordan and you say during their best years who was better, right? Even if you think it's Jordan, you could say it's Jordan, right? But then LeBron still had, let's just say 5 years. If you say 5 years out of their prime, that still doesn't do LeBron justice because of how good he was for as long as he did it. You catch what I'm saying? If you take 5 years, LeBron probably got an extra 3 or 5 years where he was playing at the highest level and playing like he was in his prime outside of those years. So it's changed from prime to peak because it refers to a single moment. Now, Jordan has never done this. No player has ever done this. So even at Jordan at his best was never capable of doing this. Now that's going to come into play a little later. But I know for a fact he's never done this. Now we talking about 2018 LeBron. Is this, okay, if you want to talk about peaks, single seasons, right? Yes. In that playoff run, 748 points, 200 rebounds, 198 assists. It's the most points, rebounds, and assists in a single playoff run in NBA history. Like, if you combine them. He was 2 points shy of 750 and 2 assists shy of 200. So 750, 200, and 200, which would have gave him a 34, 10, and 10 triple-double for an entire playoff run. That wasn't the full playoff run, because for the playoffs, he averaged 34, 9, and 9. 6 40-point games, 3 triple-doubles, 2 buzzer beaters. Okay, 34, 8, and 7. 34, 8, and 9. 34, 9, and 8. Okay. 34, 10, and 7 on 55% shooting. 34, 8, and 11, 55% shooting. 33, 9, and 8, 52% shooting. 34, 8, and 10 versus the Warriors, 52% shooting. Okay, we're going to go back. Now, you look at in the regular season, he played all 82 games. The Cavs had 2 roster trades, one at the beginning, one at the trade deadline. Kevin Love missed a month. Tyronn Lue missed a month. 2 roster trades. Kyrie Irving left, and he took that roster from that had that many, inconsistencies back to the NBA Finals, and they dropped 1 win, I believe. He had more points than Harden, more rebounds. He had more assists and better field goal percentage. Now, it could be because he played 10 more games, but, we'll never know. Now, in 2018, he said he has the most clutch season in NBA history in 2018. This is by the record books. I'm not making this up. He tied Jerry West for the most 40-point games in a single postseason. His game 1 is the third highest game score in the NBA Finals history. Okay. Now, this is the last, those finals that he was playing. And he was the leader in everything when you totaled it all together out of everybody. Now, the reason why I highlighted leading both teams in everything, to win this series versus the Pacers, he led both teams in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. He was only points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. He was 7 steals shy of leading both teams in everything to win this series. And I think he had a buzzer beater and, that kind of stuff. But that's what he had to do to win this series. To win this series, he was 4 steals shy of leading both teams in everything. That in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. I mean, 4 steals shy. Yeah, this series he was 4 steals shy. Now, he's the only player to lead both teams in everything in any NBA playoff series. And he was only 7 steals away from doing it versus the Pacers, and 4 steals away from doing it versus the Celtics. And he did that in the same playoff run to get that team to the finals. Now, you can't tell me that Jordan ever carried a team that hard, or at his peak, he was that good where he was doing those things. But, okay. At his absolute best, how can I prove LeBron was better? Outside of the fact that he played better competition, Jordan has never done this. No other player has never done this. So this is reaching a height that no other player can say they ever reached. Because at their best, performing at their best, they can never say, I was able to lead everybody and everything. So, and then if you want to go a little deeper than that, at their best, LeBron was a better finisher at the rim. He was finishing with Shaq levels of efficiency. He was a better three-point shooter because he was shooting 40% from 3. In fact, last year, he shot 41% from 3 and shot a career high. And he was past his best years. So he was clearly a better shooter. He shot more, made him at a higher percentage. Okay. Better three-point shooter. We're talking about Miami. Better finisher at the rim. Better three-point shooter. He averaged more assists and had more assists. More total assists. He averaged more rebounds and had more rebounds. So he's a better finisher at the rim, better three-point shooter, better at passing, better at rebounding. Okay, so that's 4 things. Had a higher IQ, that's 5 things. He was calling out plays of the opposing team, telling them what they would do, what their adjustments were going to be, stuff like that. Jordan was never doing that. Okay, then you want to talk about defense. I broke down multiple times why he was the defensive player of the year over Gasol, but specifically that year, if you watched it, he was guarding big men. Then he would switch onto a guard. Then he would switch onto a forward. He would switch onto a shooting guard. Like, I saw him with my own eyes switch from Tim Duncan to Tony Parker to Danny Green. I saw him switch on to Derrick Rose. Like, it's just so many different things. I seen him switch on from Danny Granger to Paul George. So he was a more versatile defender, and I would say he was a better defender because he had to guard more talented players on the perimeter, and he's a better post defender. So you can make the case that he's a better perimeter defender. He's led his team in more defensive metrics in the playoffs. He's got a higher defensive rating in the playoffs, a better defensive box plus minus in the playoffs, where it matters. So he's more versatile and better on defense. So what would be the argument for Jordan? The argument would be what? He led the league in scoring 10 times, defensive player of the year, 6 championships. Like, what would be the argument? If we're just talking about the individual player, Jordan has never done this. He's never shot 40% from 3. He's not finishing at the rim at 70%. So, and this is not me knocking Jordan, but they always say longevity is what makes LeBron greater, What makes him greater is the only thing is longevity. Okay. You talk about the records that he owns, right? Let me go through some of the stuff that he owns. Okay. If I could find it. When he broke the record for all NBA teams, first teams, he was in year 14. Jordan played 14 years. Okay, so that kills that argument. And a lot of people played a lot more seasons than 14 seasons. When he became top 10 in every playoff stat, it was his 15 playoff run. Karl Malone had 19 playoff runs. Stockton to Kareem had 18. Kobe had 15. Why weren't they top 10 in every playoff stat? If all you have to do is play a long time. Let me see if I can find it. When he hold on now. Oh yeah, when he hit the most playoff buzzer beaters ever, it was in his 11th playoff run and in year 15. Jordan played 15 years and had 13 playoff appearances. Shaq had 17, Kareem had 18, Stockton and Malone had 19. Kobe had 15, Kevin Garnett had 14. Why don't they have the most playoff buzzer beaters ever? To become number 1 in playoff scoring, he had 12 playoff runs. Jordan had 13. Kobe had 15. Kareem had 18. Okay. To pass Kareem, he played the same amount of seasons, but 150 less games, 3,000 almost 4,000 less shots, and took 478 less shots. 3,000 less minutes and took 478 less shots. Kobe played 20 NBA seasons, so did Dirk, Vince Carter, Jamal Crawford, Udonis Haslem, and Kevin Garnett. Why didn't they break his record? Now, longevity is always used to discredit LeBron, and people say LeBron has a record because he played a long time. The majority of the records he broke, other players have played just as long, so why don't they have the same records LeBron has? Another thing, Stockton is the all-time leader in steals and assists. Malone was number 2 all-time in scoring until LeBron passed him. But Jordan fans don't discredit them because they played a long time. In fact, they talk about how good the Utah Jazz was and how that was better or on-par competition than what LeBron played. And how Stockton and Malone were also all-time great. But when it's LeBron that holds the record, it's balked up to longevity and discredited. And he's discredited. Jordan's competition played a long time too, and they are given credit for records they hold or being individually dominant for a long period of time. Okay. So the point I'm making with that point is, his contemporaries or maybe rivals, if they played a long time and they broke their high in certain records or they own the record, they're given credit for being great competition, but when LeBron is actually breaks a record or he sets the record, it's longevity. As if Karl Malone and Slacker didn't play 19 seasons. Please explain that to me. Now, I think the major point is this. You talk about longevity and, at their peak, who was better, LeBron or Jordan? And you can go either one, but, at their absolute best, LeBron was a better rebounder. He was a better passer. He was a better three-point shooter. Took more, made him at a better percentage. He didn't play with a shortened three-point line. Okay. Better finisher at the rim because 70%. You don't even need to talk about that. So that's about 4 things. Now, if you want to say Jordan's better at defense, which you would only be saying defensive player of the year, not actually who he guarded, or any of that kind of stuff. You wouldn't be saying who he guarded proves he's a better defensive player, right? There's no way. He can't guard the post like LeBron, and LeBron is guarding better players on the perimeter and could switch on them both. So I think that kills that argument. But people would say defensive player of the year. So if you want to say defensive player of the year, if you want to say mid-range shooting, okay, that would be it because LeBron's a better rebounder, passer, finisher at the rim, three-point shooter, and has a higher IQ. And then give Jordan free throws. So that'd be 3 to 5 categories where LeBron is better at, right? But I think the main thing is just, the longevity argument, man. Longevity. I'm going to do this again so that people can see. He passed Jordan in regular season rebounds and assists, and playoff rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks in less years. Jordan played 15 years and has 5,663 assists. LeBron had 5,790 assists his 11th year. So, obviously, that's not longevity, right? Jordan has 6,672 rebounds in 15 years. LeBron in year 10 had 7,056 rebounds. Jordan had 888 blocks at the end of year 15, while LeBron had 893 in a 15-year span, only had 5 less blocks by the end of year 15. Okay. Jordan had 376 playoff steals in 13 playoff runs. LeBron passed Jordan with 389 in his 12th playoff run. Jordan has 1,022 playoff assists in 13 playoff runs. LeBron surpassed Jordan in his 10th playoff run with 1,188 assists. His 9th playoff run, he had 1,019 assists. Okay. So that was 3 off by his 9th playoff run. Okay. Jordan had 1,152 playoff rebounds in 13 playoff runs. LeBron's 8th season had 1,193 playoff rebounds. So how would anyone define longevity? I'm sure it's not playing 1 more year than another player did in a sport. LeBron also passed Jordan in regular season points, 1,240 less shots, and 118 less shots in the playoffs. So he may have played more games, but he passed them in less shots. So 6 to 10 categories, playing less years. Pass them in scoring, shooting less shots. Okay. Win shares, passed them in year 15. Same amount of time, 15 years. And that was before the 15th season was over. Okay. By over replacement. Passed them in year 13. Jordan played 15 years. So this longevity stuff, I'm really not getting. Just because he's too good for too long and it's a way to diminish what he's done, I guess. But, if we're comparing them at their best, as I said before, what what's the criteria? What are the years? How many years is it? You can't. And here's the thing: you can't say because he won more, or because if you say Jordan's 6 championship in 8 years, you're relegating LeBron's career to what, the 8 finals he made. I don't know, man. But what's the criteria? LeBron's always been a better 3-point shooter than Jordan. He's top 10 in 3-pointers made in the regular season and playoffs. Jordan isn't even top 250 in the regular season, and I think he's like 25th in the playoffs. But he shoots a worse percentage. That's even with them bringing in the 3-point line for 3 seasons. I think Jordan has hold on. He has 5 seasons shooting under 20% from 3, 9 seasons shooting under 30% from 3. He still has the worst 3-point shooting contest performance in NBA history. And the NBA shortened the 3-point line, which inflated his percentages. When the line went back to normal, he went from shooting 37% from 3 to 28% from 3. LeBron made 2,450 more 3-pointers while shooting a better percentage in the regular season. Right? He made 2,450 3-pointers, and so he made that many. Jordan only made 580. So he's made 1,870 more 3-pointers while shooting a better percentage. So he's 7th all time in NBA history in 3-pointers made in the regular season, and Jordan's not even in the top 250. In the playoffs, they both shot the same percentage, but Jordan only made 148, while LeBron made 470. LeBron made 322 more and shot them at the same percentage for the bulk of his career. For the bulk of his playoff career, he shot them at a better percentage. This ranks him 7th, and Jordan ranks 59th in the playoffs. So took more, made him at a better percentage. He was a better 3-point shooter, better finisher, finishing at Shaq levels, better rebounder by the numbers, better passer by the numbers. So the only thing we will have to debate is the defense, which most people would say Jordan because on face value, defensive player of the year and 3 steals titles. We would have to debate that. We can't debate free throw shooting, and we can't debate mid-range shooting. So we would have to debate defensive player of the year, or who's the better defender. And as I said before, LeBron's a better post defender. He could guard the post better. And I say he's a better perimeter defender because he's required to do both, but also because he's guarding more talented players. So I would say he's a better perimeter defender. And he led his team in more defensive metrics in the playoffs. Better defensive box plus minus, better defensive rating. He was the better defender on his team more often than Jordan was, especially in the playoffs. And Jordan was the best defender on his team. So I think when you look at that, we could say LeBron's a better defender, but okay, even if you disagree, let's disagree for a second. You say defense, free throws in mid-range. Okay, well, LeBron's a better finisher at the rim, 3-point shooter, rebounder, passer, and a higher IQ. So what exactly was Jordan better at? That's what I'm trying to get at. Who had the better peak is based on what? Now, if you're talking about, okay, I think I've done enough for today. I think we're going to leave it at that. But it's disingenuous to just chalk up everything LeBron's done to longevity. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's going to be my last video for like a few months.